Let's get right into it. Number 7. Trust your gut. That voice is also responsible for you thinking your phone vibrated when it didn't and convincing you that 2 a.m. fridge cheese is a good idea. Your gut feeling isn't magic. It's your brain speed-running decisions using shortcuts. Your instincts evolved to help you avoid snakes and angry rival tribes, not to evaluate whether a stranger is dangerous, a situation is risky, or a product is safe. Stress actually makes your gut worse at its job. Anxiety cranks your brain into threat detection mode, where everything starts to feel wrong. Your instincts don't become sharper. They become louder and dumber. You might feel uneasy walking through a well-lit area with people around, but feel totally fine texting while driving because your gut isn't measuring physics or probability. It's reacting to fear, novelty, and vibes. Basically, it's judging danger based on vibes alone, like a medieval peasant deciding which berry looks evil. Studies show that when people rely too heavily on intuition in safety decisions, they often ignore actual warning signs or freeze entirely. Your gut is great for pattern recognition when you're experienced and calm. It's terrible when you're scared, rushed, or dealing with something new. Let your emotional autopilot drive during turbulence, and your emotional autopilot has zero training and a long history of terrible decisions. Basically, your gut isn't a guardian angel. It's more like a nervous intern with a whistle and no rule book. Number 6. Stay polite no matter what. This one sounds wholesome. Be polite. Don't be rude. Avoid making a scene. Society drills this into you so hard that you'll apologize to a chair after walking into it. And that politeness? It's actively making you less safe. Humans are social animals, which means your brain is obsessed with not being awkward. It will sacrifice logic, comfort, and sometimes personal safety just to avoid violating social rules. That's why people stay in conversations they want to escape, or ignore their own boundaries because saying no feels mean. Predatory behavior feeds on politeness. Someone pushes past a boundary just a little. Your brain says, don't overreact. They push again. Your brain says, you don't want to be rude. By the time the danger is obvious, you've already overridden your own warning system multiple times. Be nice. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Don't assume the worst. Politeness slows reaction time. It makes you hesitate. It turns clear discomfort into internal debates about manners. Psychologists call this the social compliance effect. Your brain prioritizes social harmony over personal safety. That's why people apologize while backing away from danger. Sorry, I should go. Which is wild, because danger does not care about your manners. So when safety advice tells you to stay polite at all costs, what it's really saying is, prioritize social comfort over survival if they'd just been rude. Number 5. Don't panic. This one gets shouted at people right when panic is already loading its bags and booking a hotel in your nervous system, which is hilarious, because panic is not something you can cancel like a subscription. Once your brain decides something is a threat, it hits the red button and floods your body with adrenaline whether you like it or not. The problem with don't panic as safety advice is that it treats panic like a moral failure. In reality, panic is your body's emergency response system firing automatically. Your heart races, your vision narrows, your hands shake, and your brain switches from thoughtful planner to chaotic raccoon. When people are told not to panic, they often suppress the physical signs instead of managing them. But suppressed panic doesn't disappear. It leaks out as bad decisions, freezing up, or tunnel vision. Studies on emergency response show that people who acknowledge panic and redirect it, through movement, focused breathing, or simple tasks, perform better. Calm isn't the goal. Control is. Panic gives you energy. It just doesn't give you instructions. And then there's the irony. Panic evolved to keep you alive. It sharpens reflexes, increases pain tolerance, and prepares your body to act fast. Telling someone don't panic is like handing them a chainsaw and saying, just don't make mistakes. The safest approach isn't to eliminate panic. It's to expect it, train with it, work with the fact that your brain will temporarily become an over-caffeinated squirrel. When safety advice ignores that reality, people feel ashamed for reacting normally. The real move is learning how to steer the chaos instead of pretending it isn't there. Basically, panic isn't the enemy. Unprepared panic is. Number 4. If someone or something threatens you, make eye contact. Show confidence. Don't look away. Assert dominance like you're in a nature documentary about lions. Except humans are not lions. Eye contact is complicated. In some situations, it signals confidence and awareness. In others, it signals challenge or escalation. Your brain hears be confident, but the other person's brain might hear, fight me. From a psychological perspective, prolonged eye contact increases emotional intensity. It raises arousal levels in both people. That can be good in negotiations or public speaking. It's not great in unpredictable or threatening situations where de-escalation is the actual goal. Research on aggression shows that direct staring can trigger defensive or aggressive responses. In other words, your attempt to look brave might flip the switch from awkward interaction to, now this is personal. The advice also ignores how stress affects your body. When you're scared, your face tightens, your pupils dilate. What you think looks confident may actually look tense, angry, or confrontational. Your brain is saying, I'm alert, but your face is broadcasting, "I'm ready to throw hands." In many safety scenarios, controlled awareness is safer than confrontation. Brief glances, peripheral vision, awareness without challenge, but that's less dramatic, so it doesn't make it into catchy advice. So when people tell you to lock eyes with danger, what they really mean is project confidence. Unfortunately, confidence is not a universal language. Sometimes it translates as a threat. In short, staring isn't bravery. Sometimes it's just accidentally pressing the escalate button. Number 3, yell for help. This one feels like common sense. If you're in danger, yell, scream, make noise. Someone will hear you and come running like it's a movie. Except real life does not have surround sound or heroic background music. The issue isn't that yelling never helps. It's that relying on it as a primary safety strategy is wildly unreliable. Humans are terrible at interpreting screams. Studies on bystander behavior show that people often assume yelling is part of an argument, a joke, or someone else's problem. Your brain hears a scream and goes, "Probably not my business," then immediately returns to scrolling. There's also the diffusion of responsibility effect. When multiple people hear something alarming, everyone assumes someone else will handle it. So the more public the space, the less likely any single person is to intervene. Ironically, yelling in a crowd can make you safer emotionally while doing absolutely nothing practically. Then there's the physical side. Under extreme stress, your voice can literally fail. Panic tightens your throat, reduces breath control, and turns your shout into a hoarse squeak. Your body prioritizes oxygen and movement over vocal performance, so the advice assumes your nervous system will cooperate like a trained actor hitting their mark. Some safety experts actually recommend specific, unexpected phrases instead of generic screams. Yelling fire or naming a specific person breaks people out of autopilot. But the popular advice doesn't include that nuance. It just says yell, as if volume alone activates help. The danger of this advice is that it creates false confidence. People think, if something happens, I'll just scream. But if screaming fails, and it often does, they're left without a backup plan. Real safety strategies stack options. Popular advice hands you one tool and calls it a day. So yes, yelling can help, but treating it like a guaranteed rescue button is how people end up shocked when no one responds. Basically, yelling isn't a magic spell. It's a coin toss with lungs. Number 2, keep your hands free. This advice usually comes up in self-defense tips. Don't hold anything. Keep your hands free in case you need to react. Which sounds logical until you realize that empty hands are not automatically useful hands. Your brain under stress loves something to do. When your hands are empty, your nervous system fills the gap with fidgeting, freezing, or awkward half movements. Holding an object, keys, a bag, even a phone can actually ground you, giving your brain a physical reference point. That's why anxious people grab things instinctively. It's not weakness, it's regulation. There's also the reality that free hands don't magically turn into effective self-defense tools. Unless you're trained, your hands are just soft meat paddles flailing under adrenaline. Popular advice acts like everyone secretly knows martial arts once their palms are empty. Objects, on the other hand, extend reach, create barriers, or give you something to push with. Even something mundane can increase your sense of control, which improves decision-making under stress. Confidence isn't just emotional, it's physical. The advice also ignores how people actually move. You're probably carrying something most of the time. Telling people to always keep their hands free is like telling them to always be in workout clothes in case they need to sprint. It's unrealistic. The real danger is that people drop items reflexively, thinking they're helping themselves, when they've actually just removed something useful. They followed the advice, but lost leverage, balance, or focus. So while free hands sound tactical, they're not automatically safer. Sometimes they're just empty. In short, preparedness isn't about having nothing. It's about knowing what to do with what you've got. Number 1, it won't happen to you. This isn't usually said out loud, which somehow makes it worse. It's implied in almost every piece of casual safety advice. You'll be fine. It's rare. Don't worry so much. Bad things happen to other people. This mindset is incredibly comforting and incredibly dangerous. Psychologists call this optimism bias. Your brain is hardwired to believe that negative events are less likely to happen to you than to others, not because you're special, but because constant fear would make daily life unbearable. So your brain quietly edits reality to keep you functional. The problem is that safety advice often leans into this bias instead of correcting it. When risks are framed as unlikely, people stop preparing. They skip seatbelts for short trips. They ignore evacuation plans. They brush off warning signs because acknowledging them would mean accepting vulnerability. Here's the irony. The people most affected by accidents and emergencies are often the ones who never thought they needed to prepare, not because they were careless, but because everything they'd been told suggested preparation was excessive, paranoid, even. This mindset also delays reaction time. When something starts to go wrong, your brain resists the idea that it's actually happening. This isn't serious. This will pass. I'm probably overthinking. Those few seconds of denial are enough to turn manageable situations into disasters. Safety experts consistently find that early action saves lives, but early action requires believing that something could happen to you. Popular advice skips that uncomfortable truth and jumps straight to reassurance. Feeling safe is not the same as being safe. Feeling safe just means your brain is relaxed. Actual safety comes from realistic risk assessment and boring preparation, the kind that feels unnecessary right up until it isn't. So when safety advice quietly tells you it won't happen to you, what it's really doing is borrowing comfort from the future and hoping the bill never comes due. Basically, optimism is great for motivation. It's terrible for emergency planning. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.